Let me tell you about MeetRecord.com really quick. They are a revenue intelligence solution that accelerates deal flow, refines coaching with insights from AI, and fosters collaboration through workspaces, enabling teams to identify winning patterns, mitigate risks, and close more deals. So, Shubham, are you around? Hope I'm not murdering your name. I'm so sorry, but good to see you. And really excited to see the demo because you guys have really cool tech.
Yep, good to see you as well, Jonathan. And thanks for giving me this opportunity. I'll quickly go ahead and share my screen. So, interestingly, folks, today what I'm going to talk about is how do you help your teams go ahead and close large and complex deals. Closing large and complex deals is something of a is a mist, is a challenge, and uh, it's not that easy because there are a lot of moving parts there. When you're trying to go ahead and close a deal, there is stakeholder alignment. There is, you need to go ahead and understand the champions, the influencers, the people who are sitting on the fence, the people who are a little negative about your solution. You need to also go ahead and get blessings internally. You need to go ahead and focus on navigating the procurement, the legal, the finance, and ensuring everything that the deal momentum goes through. So I'll come to what MeetRecord does in a bit, but just wanted to tickle some thoughts here in terms of understanding or in terms of laying out the pitch for going ahead and showing you some really cool things that we have built to actually help your teams go ahead and close large and complex deals. Now, when I say stakeholder engagement or when I talk about understanding whom to influence and what their interests and motivations are, it's important to understand to read the room. And when you're going ahead and doing online meetings, when you're going ahead and having conversations like these, it becomes really difficult to actually go ahead and capture that or even understand the interests and pain points that each individual faces. You so the obvious question comes in is why do you need to do that? And what happens if you go ahead and do that well? So one of the key reasons is to ensure that there is deal momentum. Again, you also need to identify champions, and you also need to multi-thread effectively so that the people who are, I would say, mild influencers can potentially become your champions and let you get through the deal that you're trying to work on for months. Now, in terms of going ahead and letting out the secret is very simple. David Hoffeld also mentioned this in The Science of Selling, where he talks about that a salesperson's message should ideally mirror the buying decisions of the buyers that they are going ahead and interacting with. Only then they are able to align the deal with the buyers that are there. So what I'll go ahead and do next is give you a quick peek into MeetRecord and help you understand what MeetRecord does. So very specifically, MeetRecord is a revenue intelligence platform that helps sales teams exceed quota and do that quarter on quarter. Now, one of the interesting pieces that we go ahead and do here is capturing conversations, whether these are dialer conversations, these are video meeting conversations, and go ahead and give a lot of snippets around that. I'll go ahead and give you a quick rundown in terms of conversations itself. So when there is a conversation that is getting capture in terms of the purpose, the snapshot, the tasks that are there. We also go ahead and segregate the conversation into chapter-wise breakdown. We go ahead and drive out the transcript. And what we go ahead and do interestingly here is understand or give you a sense of understanding on the buyer personality, or I would say a guidance on the buyer's personality in terms of the traits they have. Now, this is something which we go ahead and do just basis a single conversation. And this definitely keeps improving as and when there are more conversations that get added. So here, what you can see about this individual is, some of their top traits in terms of being a problem solver, in terms of being detail oriented, humorous, and other things. Now, what is interesting about this is there is a lot of guidance in terms of how a seller should sell or interact with the buyer during the call. What should they do and what should they actually go ahead and avoid? Now, all of this is to go ahead and develop rapport, at the same time ensure that the buyer is more aligned or feels more friendly with the seller, and is actually going ahead and becoming the influencer or possibly the champion for going ahead and moving that deal. Now, similarly, there is guidance on drafting an email. Now, a lot of sellers, a lot of young sellers, again, no offense to them, they tend to overdo in terms of sending GIFs in emails. That's a very common thing. And not a lot of buyers appreciate that. So, how do you understand that through one interaction? When you're going ahead and speaking with, let's say, 4 or 5 people on a call, you can take copious notes, obviously, but then understanding each one's preferences becomes a little difficult. So that's one thing that we go ahead and highlight when it comes to how you should go ahead and draft email. Obviously, there are tons of other things as well that we go ahead and capture. And now, when it comes to planning the deal, do we think that the buyer will go ahead and move fast? Will they move slow? Are they risk takers? Are they averse to risk? So you get some of the understanding there. Along with when you're going ahead and negotiating and when you're trying to close a deal, you would also get some sort of a understanding in terms of what's the secret to going ahead and closing it faster, or will they go ahead and get a clear answer or not. Now, all of these are based on disk and ocean assessments of a buyer that we also go ahead and present it to you, and we are able to help sellers understand individual people in the buying committee and help them close deals faster. So that's one key takeaway that I want you to go ahead and take out of this session. There is another piece that I also wanted to go ahead and show you guys. So let me move forward in terms of the other capabilities that MeterCode goes ahead and brings in. Now, this is the point of interest in terms of certain questions that the buyer is going ahead and asking, as well as what you or your team has gone ahead and asked. And then there are few trackers here. Now, one of the other things that's interesting is the capability to score calls. Now, this works both ways. When you're helping your team close large and complex deals, you can go ahead and set up scorecards that act as scoring for that particular deal, as well as it goes ahead and gives guidance to the seller in terms of what are the steps they would need to take. Like, are they going ahead and handling the value proposition? Are they going ahead and handling the customer concerns? Are they going ahead and looking at the contract terms? And this goes ahead and highlights the things that the seller did well and the improvement areas that the seller could potentially go ahead and work on. So this is another takeaway that I want you to go ahead and take out of this presentation, is not just the buyer personality, but in terms of guiding a conversation through these different stages. What is the seller going ahead and doing right? You go ahead and highlight that post the call. At the same time, you give the opportunity to the seller to understand what are the things that were missed, so that if there is a follow-up email or a follow-up conversation that needs to happen, that also goes ahead and gets addressed. The third interesting thing that we go ahead and do here is we are also able to classify the interests and pain points of all the people that were present in the call. Now, when you imagine yourself or one of your sellers going ahead and taking these calls, you would realize that it becomes insanely difficult to capture this segregated for each of the people on the buying committee, and going ahead and doing that on the call or after the call will again take a good amount of effort. So we are able to go ahead and do this as well, and present this as a report to the seller, so that the seller, when they are going ahead and multi-threading with these buyers, they are in a much better position to uh, address each of these interests and pain points and help move the deal forward. Now, The third interesting, or sorry, the fourth interesting thing that we're going ahead and doing is we are pulling in a lot of this information from the CRM, whether you're using Salesforce of the world, whether you're using HubSpot. We go ahead and pull a lot of this information back in, and we are also able to push out a lot of information. So that's another piece that we are able to definitely go ahead and do with that. Now, what we call this is basically a playbook where we are able to run these automated, and we are able to go ahead and push this information within the CRM itself and help the sellers, take the load off the sellers so that they can simply go ahead and focus on closing deals. Again, these playbooks can also be set up differently for different sizes of deals. It can be set up on any other meta criteria that you want to go ahead and do that, because we tightly couple with the CRMs that you are going ahead and using. A lot of these filtering and categorization is something which is possible. So I actually wanted to end with these takeaways itself. uh, Feel free to reach out to us if you would like to go ahead and take a look at the demo, or if you would want to go ahead and try out the Meet Record platform. We'll be happy to not just help your teams close larger deals or complex deals, but we'll be happy to help them beat quota as well. Right. So that's it mostly from